Our first event of 2021. We're so happy to have everybody join us today. I hope you've been having a great day so far. So you're currently attending Raw Foods That Nourish the Gut and Body. This session today is sponsored by Pachavega. I'm Nicole, and I'll be your host for the duration of this session. I'm going to quickly do some housekeeping items. I'm sure you're already familiar with this as it is your third session of the day, but your microphone has been automatically muted. So we encourage you to engage in the chat box, which you're already doing a great job of. We have enabled closed captioning. You are able to turn this off by selecting the CC closed captioning icon and hiding the subtitles if you find it distracting. And I'd also encourage all of you to come on camera if you feel comfortable. It really helps with the power of connection, and it helps our presenter adjust their content as needed based on visual cues. So before I introduce today's session, we're going to launch a quick poll from Canfitpro. So if you don't mind completing this poll while I officially introduce our presenter, that would be greatly appreciated. Awesome. Okay, so now I will introduce our presenter. Danielle Arsenault is a certified raw food chef and plant-based nutrition educator, author of 6 cookbooks, TV show host, outdoors enthusiast, as you can see, mama and founder of Pachavega Living Foods Education and the Raw Food Chef Alliance. Danielle inspires and empowers women to heal their bodies and ignite their spirits with the power of plant-based whole foods through her life-changing Raw Food Chef certification courses, which she offers online and in person. She makes really healthy food taste really delicious and wants to share her secrets with us. She is also the co-founder of Wanderlust Utopia, a plant-based eco-modern retreat center for yoga teacher trainings, wellness events, private functions in Nicaragua, where she resides half the year. And that is where Danielle is currently doing her presentation. So everyone, let's welcome Danielle, and you can take the stage.
Yay, thanks. Oh, how exciting. Very, very exciting. I'm happy to be here. Thank you very much. And I want to talk to you today about gut health. And my specialty, though, as you heard Nicole say, is making healthy food taste delicious, because everybody knows it doesn't matter how healthy it is. If it doesn't taste good, you're not going to eat it on a regular basis anyways. There are some hardcores out there that will eat it no matter what if it's healthy. I am one of those. But the idea is that the food that we eat supports our gut health, and then overall it affects every system in the body. So I wanted to give you a little bit of a sciencey type background to understand how exactly the gut is related to overall health. And the reason that is we are essentially mostly bacteria. Okay, we're mostly microorganisms, bacteria, yeast, molds, archaea. And, even at one point it was said that we are 90% microorganisms and only 10% human cells. So I think the science has changed, but it's very similar, at least where more than half of our body is not us. So that whole concept and that fact leads me to think, well, if we're going to be healthy, we need to make sure that our bacteria are healthy, because if it's more than us, then it's going to be affecting our bodies. It's going to be affecting every system that is in our bodies. And if we talk about the idea of immunity, our immune system essentially resides in our gut, most of it anyways. It said about 70% of our immune system, the gut-associated lymphatic tissue, which is responsible for, they're basically our immune cells in our gut, that's where they reside. So 70% of our immune system's in our gut, and our gut is full of all these bacteria. They are full of good bacteria and bad bacteria. So that's the simplest way to put it. But bad bacteria is basically pathogenic bacteria that doesn't build health. It actually destroys health. So it will destroy your cells. It will cause inflammation. It will cause all sorts of problems. Whereas the good bacteria, sort of like your yay army, it's helping you stay strong. It's strengthening the immune cells. It's strengthening your gut lining So if there was any idea of maybe, you know, some of these gut issues that people are dealing with, like bloating, constipation, these are all symptoms of a deeper problem, right? It's not that the bloating is the problem. There's a root cause. And the root cause of many, many chronic diseases is essentially inflammation. When our gut microbiome, which is the collective community of all the microbes and bacteria, when that, called the microbiome, is healthy and balanced in the right proportions, it's going to build our health, and it's going to be anti-inflammatory essentially. But when we're eating foods or, you know, coming into contact with toxins, our immune system is activated, and we are constantly working at trying to, you know, eliminate the pathogenic bacteria, the harmful microorganisms. Okay, so that's a little brief overview of, you know, how the system works and how it affects the whole body. Because when the bad bacteria causes inflammation, inflammation then causes immune reaction and an immune response of some sort, and it looks like different symptoms in all bodies. So the bloating, the diarrhea, the constipation, those are all similar symptoms of a root cause. When we can heal our gut and reset our gut, we can heal our bodies because it's all related. So the question is, okay, now what, right? What do we eat? And that's why I'm here, because I love the science behind it, but the science does nothing if you don't act upon it. You have to act, you have to make a move. And as I mentioned at the very beginning, if the food doesn't taste good, it doesn't matter how healthy it is, you're not going to eat it. So let us start with our first recipe. So I don't know if any of you have prepared or if you're going to be making the recipe with me. But this recipe is kimchi. It's sort of a non-traditional kimchi. I actually lived in South Korea for 4 years, and I really fell in love with probiotic foods. Probiotic foods are essentially pre-digested foods that are going to feed the good bacteria in your microbiome, okay? So remember, we're all about balancing out the good microbiome and the good bacteria, strengthening them so that they can keep the bad stuff at bay. How do you strengthen the good bacteria? Well, it's by eating their preferred fuel source, and their preferred fuel source is fiber. So if you forget everything that I say today about the microbiome and how immune response works and all that stuff, just remember this. The number one secret to reset your gut health is eat a variety of whole plant-based foods, as many different colors as possible. I'll say that again. The number one secret to reset your gut health, and essentially by doing that, strengthen your immune system, is by eating the food that your microbiome, the good guys, they want to eat, and that is fiber. We have thousands of types of fiber, mostly known as insoluble and soluble. The soluble fiber food that your gut microbiome eats. And so when it eats this food, this fiber, this watermelon, tomato, this kimchi, this avocado, this yam, this zucchini, okay, the source of the different bacteria, basically you are filling the mouths of these little bacteria in all their different preferred food sources. So you're creating a diverse, multi-dense population of microbiota, of microorganisms in your gut. The more of a variety of microorganisms you have, the stronger your immune system will be, the stronger your gut will be, and they will eat all kinds of different fibers. So I don't know how many there are. There are like 100 trillion bacteria cells in our body. And each of those different bacteria eat different fibers. So you can't just eat tomatoes, because tomatoes is only feeding one type of bacteria, if that makes sense. You need the variety to feed all the variety of the different bacteria. And when you do that, you have this like multicultural, if you will, multicultural microbiome. And the more multicultural your microbiome, the healthier you're going to be in the end. So saying that, if you were to go on a challenge, as an example, maybe start a 21-day challenge with me, perhaps, to reset your gut, the first thing that you want to do is try to eat at least 40 different whole plant-based foods a week. So without further ado, I'm going to start by showing you one of my favorite recipes, and that's kimchi, a non-traditional type kimchi. This has probiotics, so different types of bacterial strains that can also help boost your probiotic content in your body. But also it's a pre-digested food because it's been broken down. The lactic acid has broken down the fibers, and they become easier for our bodies to digest and easier for the microorganisms to digest. So, has anybody here ever had kimchi? Have you made kimchi before? Do you like kimchi? It's a very simple recipe, actually. I've pre-chopped everything and pre-prepared everything ahead of time. But what I do have here is one of these 40 different vegetables that you're going to eat weekly, and it is purple cabbage. So that's a lot, actually. I'm going to do less. This purple cabbage is a lot healthier than regular green cabbage, and that's because it has something we call anthocyanins. So anthocyanins are a particular type of antioxidant, polyphenol, and it's responsible for the color. Okay, so this beautiful color is giving us different nutrition than just a green cabbage. So it actually has more anthocyanins than the green cabbage, although green cabbage is also very nutritious. Red cabbage is even more nutritious in this antioxidant. Okay, so that can be one of your 40 vegetables per week. We're going to add two other things that can also count: garlic and ginger. So garlic and ginger are a traditional staple in the traditional kimchi. I'm not making it in the traditional form. I'm going to show you the very basic, the very easiest. I see someone said it was too spicy. Well, let's just not put any spice in it. It doesn't matter. Kimchi will feed your microbiome, okay? It's an incredible source of prebiotics and probiotics for your body. So all you do is you put the cabbage in a bowl. You take some salt. Okay, I provided you the exact recipe, but because I've done this so much, I'm just going to eyeball it. Okay, and then you notice we're outdoors. We've got some motorbikes driving by, right in the countryside. All right, ginger and garlic. So ginger is really good for the stomach. It's excellent for digestion. So it can really help with people that are dealing with constipation, bloating, etc. Ginger, it's amazing. And it actually looks like a stomach, so that's pretty incredible. And garlic. Garlic is an antiviral, it's an anti-inflammatory, it's an antifungal, and it's a medicine. Actually, Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, used to prescribe garlic to his patients. That's how powerful they used to keep it on this pedestal as this medicine. And the other typical thing that's in a traditional kimchi is the spicy pepper. I saw someone wrote that they don't like this too spicy. So the best thing is when you make it at home, you can decide how much spice you want to put in it. Maybe you put no spice. Maybe you don't even put ginger and garlic and you just put cabbage and salt. That's actually called sauerkraut. So the only difference between sauerkraut and kimchi are the spices and the way that it's made, but it's basically, they're both fermented cabbage. Okay. So I've also added a little bit of cayenne pepper or chili powder to this. You probably want to not do that until the end, because if you start squeezing, you might get cayenne in your fingers. I've done this a million times, so I'm okay with it. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to stir it up a little, and I'm going to start squeezing. The salt is going to get into the cell walls of the cabbage and start to pull out the brine and create its own liquid. So there is no liquid at all in this to start. But if I just start squeezing it, okay, just start squeezing it, it'll start to become a little bit more wet. That's when I know it's working. And what we can do is we can actually come back a little bit later. I'll make a few of these other recipes, and we'll come back and see what happened to the cabbage just by sitting with the salt. So as you can see, it's quite dry. Okay, there's no liquid, but it's starting to soften. I can already feel it getting soft. This will turn into this in about 5 days. Now notice the color difference, okay? They are different. That's because the pH of the cabbage drops drastically as it ferments. And as the pH drops, it actually changes the pigment. So I think that's pretty amazing. It turns more of a pink color, but still it has that antioxidant and those anti-inflammatory compounds. But it also has probiotics. Okay. Is there a way to make kimchi low FODMAP? No, because of fermented foods. Typically, fermented foods are not recommended in the FODMAP diet. Okay. So we're just going to put this aside right now, and we are going to move on to granola. This granola I absolutely love because I feel like it's really simple to make. And it also has the ability to have endless flavors, changing up the spices, changing up the dried fruits, even changing up some of the grains. And then you dehydrate it, so it's eaten raw. I know that the title of this presentation was Raw Foods to Help the Gut. The reason behind raw is not because you need to eat raw 100% of the time, all the time. Never do I think that being 100% of anything is actually very good for us. We need variety in all ways, in our lives, in our minds, in what we do, in what we eat. But raw food has the ability to provide you with tons of nutrition, tons of vitamins, enzymes, phytonutrients that are otherwise damaged by high heat. Now, even if you burn your food, at the end of the day, you're still going to have minerals. Those minerals never go away. You'll still have protein, you'll still have carbohydrates, but there won't be any vitamins or enzymes or polyphenols left. Well, the polyphenols will be there, but they'll have been changed by heat, because heat can damage these heat sensitive vitamins. So that's the reasoning behind raw foods. And also, when we chew our food really, really well, and we give our body the raw food nutrition, we're giving it all those, that diversity that our microbiome thrives on, okay? If all of our food is cooked, we're gonna be missing out on some really key vitamins and some really important enzymes. So raw food as a large majority of your diet is going to be extremely healthful, and it's going to be health building because of what it offers you. That doesn't mean to say that there's not a lot of positive nutrients in plant-based whole cooked foods. Okay, there absolutely is. Like I said, there's carbohydrates, there's protein still, and there are minerals. So still healthy food. Just we need a variety. Okay. Yes, you can, as far as a low, I saw a question here, if a low or no sodium version of kimchi. The difference between rotten food and fermented food is typically salt. Yes, you can absolutely make a very low salt kimchi, but you do need, there's other school of thoughts too, because there's school of thoughts where they don't have any salt, but there's a very high chance that that food would rot versus ferment. And then in that case, I always use fermented foods as a condiment anyways. It's a small part, you know, a tablespoon, half a tablespoon, a part of a bigger dish. We're not eating it by the spoonful typically. So in that case, it can actually even replace the salt in your diet. You don't have to have added salt. You can just add that tablespoon of kimchi or sauerkraut, and that will give you the sodium for the day. Okay, so granola. Very exciting because, like I said, there's so many different types of granolas that you can make if you change up the different things that you put in it. The main concept is that we create a dry base and we add our wet ingredient, and then we mix it and we dehydrate it. So I'm going to be showing you what we're making. This here. All right. So in 24 hours, if you're making this with me in 24 hours, this is what your granola will also look like. It's a mix, and you can follow the recipe that you have, or you can make this recipe that I'm about to make. Okay. It's hard to stay organized in a live presentation when you have like 5 different recipes to make. But we will put this aside for later to make it look amazing. So our granola has in it sprouted buckwheat, okay? So this is essentially just buckwheat that's been soaked overnight and rinsed in the morning, and then it can be used, okay? We also have oats. So these are gluten-free certified organic oats. We have some chia seeds, some sprouted sunflower seeds. Okay, and when I say sprouted sunflower seeds, what I really mean is that they are soaked overnight, just like the buckwheat, soaked overnight and rinsed in the morning. This is something that's actually key in the raw foods diet, and something that I teach about often in my courses is that we soak all of our nuts and seeds to release enzyme inhibitors. What enzyme inhibitors are, they are the coating, the thing that protects the seed or the nut from going rancid or from going off. Usually this is a skin of sorts. So for an almond, it's a perfect example. The almond skin is it's an enzyme inhibitor, or at least has enzyme inhibitors within the skin. So what we do is we soak them and we rinse them. Now it's a little bit more complicated, but that's basically the gist of it. If you soak them and you rinse them for at least 8 hours, you are getting rid of those enzyme inhibitors. And what's really important is to discard the water that your nuts and seeds are soaking in, because the water now contains the unhealthy enzyme inhibitors. So that's just a pro tip. If you want, so some people think after the question is that, does that mean like I can't eat raw almonds? Well, actually raw almonds have an enzyme inhibitor. So when we eat raw almonds that have the enzyme inhibitor, we're eating the thing that prevents our bodies from also absorbing the enzymes. So they're not actually that healthy. It's better to eat raw almonds than not to eat almonds at all, maybe, or maybe is it? I don't know. I think soak all nuts and seeds regardless. If then you are saying, oh, but then they're going to be wet, well, then you can re-dehydrate them. And the best tip on doing that is basically, if you go to the grocery store or you order in, or however you get your nuts or seeds delivered to you, you take the whole thing, you dump the whole thing in water, and then you spread them out on your dehydrator sheets, and then you dry them again, and then they're ready to go whenever you're wanting to use them. So the sunflower seeds that I just poured in, I got them, I soaked them, I dried them, and now they're ready to use instantly for this recipe. Otherwise, I would have to wait another 8 hours for them to soak, and I don't want to do that. So that's just another pro tip. Okay, So once we've got those ingredients, we can add things like dried fruit, goji berries, okay? I call this a goji berry granola. You could add chopped up dried dates, dried apricots, dried apples. I've done it with orange zest. It's incredible with orange zest, and ginger, raisins. I mean, the list is really endless. Dried cherries, cranberries. You can add cinnamon, you could add vanilla. I'm gonna add goji berries. I wanted to keep this simple, but elaborate as you will. And I'm gonna add some cinnamon, some nutmeg, and some powdered ginger. Okay. So I've just got this dry mix. The next thing is I'm gonna make a wet mix, and that is with bananas, and you can put some other fruits in there, that's fine, and some dates to make it a little bit sweeter. Okay, these bananas came from right there. I wish I could show you. It's actually like we just cut our bananas when they're done growing, we cut them and we hang them right here. So these were just straight up from our banana tree that grows just, well, there's like hundreds of banana trees here. All right. Speaking of bananas, did you know that they are a herb? They are not a tree, so it's not a banana tree, it's actually a herb, and they only grow the banana once, and then you have to cut it down. And they actually grow really fast. That's why they're quite a sustainable fruit, because they grow so fast. Okay, so these ones are tiny, so we're gonna do 3, and then we'll add some dates. If you wanted, you could also soak your dates ahead of time. This would make them blend a little easier. If you have not a high-speed blender, if you have like just a regular blender, I would soak nuts and soak your fruits beforehand. Just gonna add a little bit of water to help it blend. The best thing about this recipe is, I could let it go forever, but if it has a few chunks of dates, amazing. I want some chunks of dates in my granola. Perfect. Okay, you just pour it like that. Also, out there, those of you who have a Vitamix, I want to show you a really quick, easy way. First of all, super skinny spatula. This thing is gold. Second, you never do this. You go on the sides and you push everything into the middle. So from the bottom, everything goes into the middle. And then the middle, you just scoop it down. I don't know if that helps, but I often see people like scraping it like this, which takes forever and doesn't even get the Vitamix clean. All right, perfect. Next thing, stir it up. Another pro tip, turn the bowl and then you don't have to do this with your arm. I'm just trying to wet this all. Perfect. Okay. As you see, okay, it's just kind of a sloppy mess. Probably super delicious. You can eat it as is, or you can put it on the dehydrator sheet. Like I said, you can add all kinds of other things. You could add an apple, you could add a pear, you could add quinoa, cooked quinoa. If I had some, I would add it for sure. Okay, and then at this point too, there's a couple tips. This can be granola, but it could also be a granola bar. If you added a little bit more sweetener, like maple syrup or rice syrup, you could make it into a granola bar. Or if you added like maybe triple the amount of dates, this ends up being quite dry and not very sweet. So again, if you're watching your sugar content, this is excellent because it's just from a couple bananas. Okay, that's it. So this is my granola. It's going to go on the dehydrator. I'm going to put it on there for probably, well, till this evening. So, you know, 4 or 5 hours. And then I'll check it and see how it is. And then at that point, I'm going to try to flip it. I'm going to try to flip it in order that it goes on the dehydrator grates here and comes off of this, because when this doesn't come off, it won't fully dry. So we have to remove this before we can fully dry the granola or crackers or pizza crust or anything that you make. But we can't put it directly on the grates right away, or else it will dry into the grates and then it makes it impossible to clean, or just like really tedious to clean. So let's put that in the dehydrator from there. Okay, pretend it's the morning. All right, we're here in the morning and we got our granola. Here it is, yummy. Okay, we're going to make a fermented coconut yogurt. Amazing. Okay, and I did speak a little bit about probiotics and how probiotics can really enhance our gut health. And it becomes, the more probiotics that we have in our body, the more postbiotics that they create as their bodily processes. So essentially, postbiotics are things called short-chain fatty acids, and short-chain fatty acids, including one called butyrate, specifically help strengthen the tight junctions within your digestive tract. What that means is, has anybody here heard of something called leaky gut? Okay, leaky gut is a potential issue that can be related to many of the symptoms that you mentioned: bloating, constipation, diarrhea, etc. So these probiotics eat and produce postbiotics, short-chain fatty acids, which strengthen tight junctions and basically close up potential holes in your digestive tract. Now, what's the problem about holes in your digestive tract is that proteins and toxins then can get into your bloodstream, and that's basically, boom, where inflammation comes from. That's where chronic inflammation comes from. And that's why I said that if you heal the gut and you close up all those tight junctions, you can heal the whole body, because a lot of the symptoms of, you know, all issues, even like cystic acne as an example, come from this inflammation that's happening in the gut, and essentially it's setting off an autoimmune response, and that shows up in people in all different ways. So granola feeds your probiotics the prebiotics that it needs to create postbiotics, and so does this coconut yogurt. I see some questions here. Oh, what is a dehydrator sheet? Yes, so little technical thing. When you buy the dehydrator, it'll typically just come like this. You need to buy these sheets because you can't really use a dehydrator just with this, because obviously if you pour anything on that, it just goes straight through it. So this, you always start whatever you're making in the dehydrator, whether that's if you're just drying tomatoes as an example, or if you're making like a fruit roll up, you want to start it with this, and then you want to end it on this. What other questions were there? Do the soaking the nuts and removing enzyme inhibitors, how long will they keep? So because you've introduced water, you essentially have started the growing process. If you think of a seed as something that you plant and that grows, when you add water, it starts to change, it starts to grow. 3 days they'll only keep for 3 days, but my recommendation is to dehydrate them. So then they're fully dried, and then they'll keep for months and months. And I always keep my nuts and seeds in the fridge or the freezer, because they have oils, and those oils are sensitive to heat, light, and air. And so they potentially could go rancid. So all your nuts and seeds should be in the fridge and the freezer, especially like flaxseed, for example, can go rancid very easily because of that. And it's not in a place that's cool. Okay, coconut yogurt. Next. I really don't like wasting in my kitchen. And I try to teach my students and instill that into my students as well, to really like respect the food and eat it all and not waste it. So I have all types of tips and tricks that I offer in my online courses and in my in-person courses. And this is just one of them. So, I mean, it might seem strange, but this Vitamix, we just used it, right? It was banana, dates, and water. Okay. I'm just going to put the coconut straight in here. I'm not going to go wash it out. I don't need to, because banana, coconut, those are great flavors together. So this is literally the inside flesh of a coconut, and it's in between a very young coconut and an old coconut. So this is what I would call a young coconut. It's the bigger ones, the green ones. We have orange ones here too, but the really big ones, those brown hairy things that you're familiar with, that's a very old or a very mature coconut. And inside that, very thick, hard, and oily flesh. And that's what they make coconut shreds from. This is what they make, well, like coconut yogurt or like desserts typically with coconut, because it has a higher water content. Yeah, okay. Can you dehydrate the almonds after soaking? In the oven. Maybe Rita, could you rephrase your question? I'm not sure about that one. So I'm just gonna throw this in the Vitamix. Okay. And the really great thing about this coconut yogurt recipe is it uses, which I don't have here. Do I have it? I don't have it. It's in the house. It uses its own coconut water that was inside the coconut. So it's essentially the whole food. We're taking the coconut, we break it open, we use the water, and we use the flesh, and we're blending it. Okay, what are we blending it with? I'll go grab it. But we're blending it with vanilla. Okay, amazing, right? So a little bit of vanilla powder. You can also use vanilla extract. That's not a problem. We're going to add a little bit of coconut butter. All right. So coconut butter is, if you're curious, it's just like a nut butter, and it's from the the mature hairy coconut that's been stone ground. Again, it's full of oil, not water. That's the difference between the two. Okay, let's add some maple syrup. This maple syrup is going to help the coconut yogurt ferment faster. Let's add some lemon. This lemon came from the tree that's right there, my lemon tree. When I want to go for the lemon store, I just go shake the tree and they fall. It's amazing. Although it's not lemon season, so you got to shake it really hard and only like one comes out. Okay, and the secret ingredient is a probiotic capsule. Okay, so this is essentially to kickstart the fermentation process. Now notice I didn't use this with the kimchi. Now that's because kimchi has on the cabbage itself and a lot of other vegetables, they already have the wild yeast bacteria on them that will kickstart the fermentation process. Whereas the coconut, because it was inside the coconut, there's no bacteria inside of a coconut. Otherwise they'd all be rotten all the time. So we're gonna add this culture. So if you are a person who takes probiotic supplements, which I do recommend on a short-term basis to really actually kickstart and restart your gut if it's on a really sort of not a very good state. But yeah, instead of taking them, like just eating them as a capsule, why don't you expand them, grow them, and then get like billions of more bacteria for the price of this one? So we're taking this one little capsule, we're adding it to the coconut yogurt. It's going to like get massive in volume. I don't know how much, maybe like, 100 times more bacteria. And so essentially you're getting more of the probiotic strain for your money. So what I do is I just open the capsule and dump it out. Okay, so yeah, just open it out and dump it out. Now, this part is fun. Are you ready? This is very exciting. Okay. Wait, while I'm here, I see some questions. What type of coconut can we get in Canada? Can't get green coconuts. You can find like young coconut, frozen young coconut, usually in health food stores or like big chain grocers. You can also use like coconut cream. That will work as well with water. Okay, oh yeah, I was gonna go grab that. Nicole, do you want to see if there's any really exciting questions? I'm gonna go grab that coconut water. It's in the fridge.
Yeah, of course. Awesome. So thanks everyone. I know I'm definitely learning a lot today. That's so cool that she has a banana tree in her backyard. I'm definitely jealous. So I see there's a lot of questions here. If Danielle isn't getting to them right away, just know I am taking them down. So don't worry about that. So that's awesome. So yeah, just keep them coming. If we have any questions, maybe type in what you think your favorite recipe is so far. I really, really like that granola one. So cool. And I know above in the chat, we were promoting her gut reset challenge. So take a look at those links when you have time as well.
Yeah, that's right. I'm doing a 21-day gut reset challenge. Maybe it's even too much. The more I work on it, the more I'm like, my God, this like never ends. It's super comprehensive. It's amazing. But it's 21 days of action that allows you to reset your gut. So I like dibble dabble. I'm like, should I make it just like optional? Should they just do like, here's some basic steps? Or should I be like, no, like you got to do it like this because this is the way it will actually work. So I've opted to the second. It's a daily routine that will basically reshape your gut. And it's pretty awesome. It has amazing, delicious recipes. If anything, you'll get just like a whole bunch of amazing recipes. Amazing. This is the coconut water. Yeah, thanks. This is the coconut water that comes straight out of the coconut. So we're going to add that to, so this is really truly a whole food using the whole coconut. And we're going to blend. Okay, blend. I just wanted to add a few more because I just saw the consistency is a bit liquidy, so I just added a few more pieces of coconut to thicken it up. Okay, this is the really exciting part. I made this coconut yogurt yesterday to show you what it looks like 24 hours later. And well, it's going to explode in our faces. But that's the fun part of it. So, okay, are you ready? So, if you can see closely, you see all the bubbles? Okay, so it's hot here where I am in Nicaragua. So it only took 24 hours. If you are in a very cold place or your house is very cold, it might take longer, but you will see bubbles. And when you see the bubbles, that's the best sign. That means it's ready. Okay, a little bit nervous, just a little bit nervous. Okay, I have so many things on this table. All right, so here we go, open it. Oh, that was not very exciting. But you can see how it's all bubbly, okay? It smells fermented. And then what we're gonna do is just take this, stir it down. Yeah, it smells like yogurt, actually, exactly like it. And you can see how much it went down. So it went down almost half the jar. So that's a pro tip. When you make coconut yogurt at home, make sure you leave room in the jar or else literally it will explode on your countertop. Also, don't super tighten the lid because it does need some air. It will need air to escape. So this is homemade coconut yogurt, but I already know before I even taste it, it's not going to be sweet. Why? Because the microbes ate all the sweetness. So even though I added maple syrup to that, tomorrow morning, it's not going to be sweet. Like right now, it'll be sweet. Tomorrow morning, it won't be sweet. So I'm adding more maple syrup back to this to sweeten it, to make it a sweet yogurt. Now you don't have to. And actually, I don't have a sweet tooth at all. I don't like eat any sweets almost, but a little bit of sweet. This is like the exception to my own rules that I make. Actually, I don't have any rules. Why? That just restricts you. No rules. Okay, so we're gonna add a little bit of maple syrup to this coconut yogurt because it's ready. And we are going to, you could add a bit of more vanilla if you wanted. You could add a bit more lemon if you wanted. You could add cinnamon. You could add, you know, all kinds of things. Apparently this is going to be my lunch after I get off the call. Perfect. Wow. Yeah. And it's almost like it needed that maple syrup because another thing I love to teach people, my students, is flavor balancing. So it's really important, flavor balancing. I have a acidic, a very acid, sour yogurt. It's creamy, that's good, fatty, got some fat, sour, but it needs like just a hint of sweetness to sort of balance out the sour, or else it's too much, unless of course you prefer it like that. But what we'll do is we will take our coconut yogurt, we will pour it on top of our granola, and then we'll make the next recipe. Running out of room here. Okay. So, next thing, perfect. I'm gonna take this, okay, here's this other pro tip that I mentioned before. Yum. I'm gonna take this coconut yogurt, I'm gonna pour it in my new receptacle because, and I wanna give it some room. So I don't know if you can see, but I'm giving it room because it will definitely fill that. It will probably keep going. I really love these ones. These are leak proof, but I'm not going to tighten it. I'm just going to, smells like sauerkraut. I think that was the sauerkraut one. That's not a good combo, coconut yogurt and sauerkraut. But I'm not going to tighten it super tight. I'm just going to loosely tighten it and let it do its thing over the next 24 hours. And I really probably won't touch it. But another tip is put something, like put it on a plate just in case it does like explode, and it won't be all over your countertop. It'll be on the plate. Okay. What else? This. That's in here. Okay. This is what ends up happening. Got a mess now. Okay, here's more coconut yogurt. And I sort of did this on purpose, this recipe, because now I have a situation where I have a Vitamix. This is what I do at home. This is what I do every time I make coconut yogurt. I love strawberries. Strawberries don't grow in Nicaragua. So I have some frozen strawberries. It's like a treat of mine once in a while. And I'm gonna leave this coconut yogurt that's in there. I'm gonna add a bunch of frozen strawberries and some water, and I'm gonna make the best strawberry milkshake that you've ever had. Okay. So, strawberries. Literally, it's just this dirty Vitamix plus a bunch of strawberries, a bit of water, and blend. And that's it. And that's a way to A, clean out my Vitamix, and B, not waste a single bit of that delicious coconut yogurt. Oh, it smells. Strawberries. It's funny, you're all probably like, oh, strawberries, how boring. Where's the papaya and passion fruit and pineapple and mango? Well, our mango tree is right there. And it has mangoes, but they're only this big because mango season isn't until the summer, until about July. Amazing. This is the delicious, most delicious. And yeah, it's super easy to make. So just take your leftover, like when you're making the coconut yogurt the same day, just throw some frozen fruit in a little bit of water at the end and blend it up, and then you can totally use up what's in your Vitamix. And then at the same time, make a double snack, because you're making the yogurt, but you don't get to enjoy it till the next day, right? So it's like you're making the yogurt, then you make your smoothie. So you have both. Yeah. Whoa, that's pretty close. Okay, I'm gonna get ready for the next and final thing, and that's putting together our kimchi noodle bowl. I just have to go rinse out the Vitamix this time because we're making a savory broth. That probably doesn't go good with strawberries. So I will be right back. Nicole, if you want to take over.
Of course, no problem. My stomach is literally growling. That's okay. We can grab a snack after this. There are a few more promotions that we wanted to bring up for Pachavega. So we're going to drop those in the chat just so you can take a look to learn more about Danielle's company. So those are really exciting. I actually spent some time on the Pachavega Instagram account this morning, and she has so many beautiful recipes on there. So if you're looking for more information, I would definitely check that out. But yeah, I love the comments in here. Like, her energy is so high, so positive, and making healthy food doesn't have to be that difficult. I definitely didn't know the trick about the nuts and that we should be dehydrating and soaking them. So that's something really interesting that we learned today. Thank you, Christine, for dropping that into the chat. So yeah, all about gut health. And it's huge. Actually, one of the things that Danielle mentioned, that gut health relates to cystic acne. I had a girlfriend that suffered with that severely, and it took so long for her to figure out what was causing it. And it was all about the food she was eating. And it turned out she had a dairy allergy, and it was all affecting her gut and affected her face. But thankfully we got through that and figured that out. Awesome.
Yeah, dairy allergies. I'll mention something about that here.
Perfect.
We're all allergic to dairy because we are not 5 years old. We're not a baby anymore. When we're a baby, we have this enzyme. Our body produces an enzyme called lactase. And this is so it can digest the lactose in the milk from our mama. As we grow, we no longer drink the milk from our mama, and so we no longer produce lactase. So even though some people can tolerate dairy a little bit more than others, it's actually said that about 1/4 of the entire population on Earth is absolutely allergic to dairy, and it can cause a lot of problems. It's not even just the dairy itself, it's all the toxins that are associated with the dairy industry. Dioxin, byproduct of chlorine, bleaching. Yeah, and essentially, I know many of you might eat dairy, you might not agree with me, that's okay as well. I highly recommend though that you do some research, and you'll definitely come across the same information as I have. And yeah, it's just not it's not a health food. It was used in times of drought, in times of famine, as a high fat food, sort of starvation technique food. And yeah, it's not really meant for human consumption. Obviously, we are not baby cows, we are humans. And so there's no other species on the planet that consumes another species' milk. I could go on about that, but essentially that is why we're allergic to dairy. And yeah, even lactose free, it's super highly processed, because lactose is basically one of the enzymes that's in not enzymes, sorry, it's one of the proteins that's in milk, like in it, right? If it's lactose free, how do they separate, that? And so it's very highly processed. And again, it's just something, we're trying to eat more whole foods, more foods like nature. So that just gets us even further away from that. But yeah, I typically, in all my trainings, I focus on the to do, what to add, not necessarily about what to not add. But if you look at the slide that I sent you, there's 3 things that you can really do to reset your gut health. And that is to detoxify the body. First, you need to kind of rid yourself of eating those things, and then rebuild our microbiome. So I taught you about that, how eating fiber, plant-based a rainbow of foods. And then the third thing is to maintain. And so that is just continually eating this variety of foods. We're going to make a kimchi noodle bowl, and we'll start with the broth. I don't even have the recipe with me though. So maybe, Nicole, you can read out the recipe. It's very, very simple. Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Here, let me even move this thing.
Here. Okay, so we have healthy kimchi noodle bowl. So if you click on the link that I put in the chat box, it's page 15. Sorry, page 14 and 15.
Yeah, I think 15 has the sauce on it.
Yeah.
The dressing anyways.
Perfect. So did you want me to read out those ingredients?
Yeah, just for the dressing. What's in the dressing?
Okay, so our dressing, we have a half a cup of tahini, quarter cup of water. We have sesame oil.
Okay. Where is it? Where is it? Say it one more time. Tahini.
Tahini,
Yep.
water.
Yep.
Toasted sesame oil.
Uh-huh.
Mari.
Yep.
Apple cider.
Mm-hmm.
Maple syrup.
Yep. Got that.
Garlic.
Garlic. Boom.
Minced ginger.
Okay.
And then cayenne powder.
So I'm going to add a fermented hot sauce that I made myself. Okay. A similar way that I made the kimchi. I didn't squeeze it though, but it's salt and hot peppers. Okay. So let's get this going. All right, let's taste this. So there's actually, I think you've got two different recipes, which is fine. You could use both. One is like a broth, and the other one is this sauce. Of course, you have to taste it, right? And you know what? I was thinking I could get away with not having the apple cider vinegar in there because it's in the house, but it needs a sour balance, and that's part of teaching people about balancing food. Guess what has sour? Sauerkraut, literally. And this is the same type of sauerkraut that I made. I'm going to add this as my sour element instead of the apple cider vinegar. So I'm adding probiotics to the sauce as well as a sour element. So 2 for 1. All right. Blend it up. See if that did the trick. Wow. I could actually even put like more lemon or something in it, but it's really good. It's quite a bit spicy. So let's put that aside for our noodle bowl. We're going to talk about the kelp noodles. So these are kelp noodles. They're a seaweed, and I recommend eating seaweed on a regular basis. This can be added to your one of 40 different plant foods per week. So we're starting with this base, and I'm going to put a little bit of sauce on the base because the noodles themselves are kind of boring plain. Okay, so just so there's a bit of sauce before we even build the bowl. Let's go back to our kimchi. Let's take a look. Oh my gosh, look what's happened just over the course of this call. If I squeeze really hard, can you see that? It's coming out. That's the brine, okay? So it's perfect, it's ready. So what we want to do is we actually want to jam it inside of a jar. I'm outside, so I'm just going to toss the water. Perfect. All right, So we're taking it, we're stuffing it into a jar. And the number one key to keeping this healthy is that all under the brine is fine. So I'm using my Vitamix tamper, but you want to get something in there and you really want to push it down super hard so there's least amount of air bubbles as possible. So really jam it in there. Okay, and you keep going. And by the end, when you push it really hard, you could actually have some brine rising above, and it stays above. Oh yeah, that was why I had that in the jar. Where'd it go? I put coconut yogurt in it. Okay. So it's really crammed down, really tight. I'm going to use this piece of cabbage as what I call the follower. Okay, so it follows at the end. Just going to rip it. Now what this does is it just protects everything underneath from mold, spores that you might get from the environment, which actually are totally fine. Okay, so if your kimchi gets mold on it, it's not a bad thing. But if the whole thing's moldy, then it's a bad thing. What you want to make sure to do is that when you press down, the brine rises above. Okay, and everything, if just keep this in mind, everything under the brine is fine. Everything under the brine is fine. So if the brine is the liquid, if the liquid is full, it's safe. Even if the top got some mold on it, you can just take it off, no problem, discard it. If it's dried out and it's all moldy, then no, it's not good, toss it, okay? So just make sure it's, yeah, there, see, I'm pressing it and I don't know if we can see, but you can see it's coming out, right? So I've got some of the brine in there. Okay, now I put it, technically you want to weight it down. I had a different jar for this because I have this special glass weight, but it doesn't fit in this jar. But you want to weigh it down, so you can use a glass weight. You can use another jar and put it in, right? And just press it down because as it ferments, it can float to the top. Okay, perfect. So we're gonna put this aside. We're gonna leave it on our counter for a week, a full week. We will also put it on a plate because as it ferments, it's gonna bubble over and it'll start to be all liquidy all over your counter, and then it'll just like go all over the counter. So make sure that it's on a plate or something to catch the drips, even with some paper towel, and let it ferment. It's ready when it tastes sour and delicious and kind of smells funky, but that's a good thing. All right, so a week later, this is what happens. This is exactly the same recipe. So the color changes with the time from the lactic acid. So the lactic acid grows and the color changes. So this is part of our kimchi noodle bowl. I'm going to put it on the one side. And I just noticed, aha, sneaky hiding spots for all my other things. Okay. I need an assistant. Help assistant. No, I don't have one. Okay. All right. So we're building this kimchi noodle bowl. We've got our kelp noodles on the bottom. We've got a little bit of our sauce. We've got the kimchi. Then we've got, oh, some other things I forgot to add to the kimchi when I made it. That's okay. We'll add it to the bowl. Some green onion. Okay. Some carrots. Now you can cut these, chop these, you know, as fine as you want them. I wanted them all like kind of similar, and I really wanted to make it look pretty. So I julienne them. Some cucumber. Okay. I used to live in South Korea. I lived in South Korea for 4 years, in fact, as a rock climber and English teacher. And I really love Korea, and I love the food that comes out of Korea. It's very nutritious, it's very delicious, and that's where I learned how to make kimchi, and I basically fell in love with all fermented things. Okay, the recipe that you have in your recipe to add apple, green onion, these things to the cabbage itself. before it's fermented. So in the bowl, mix it up. Why not? The sweet apple will add some more sugars for those probiotics to consume, and it won't taste like apple in the end. It will taste like sauerkraut or kimchi. But I forgot to do that. It doesn't really matter. Let's just add it straight to our noodle bowl. Okay. And of course we have to add sprouts because I love sprouts, and I think that everything should have sprouts on the end. It really enhances. You know what else I have? Forgetting all the secrets. Okay, I sauteed some kale with some garlic. So I'm gonna put that. I'm gonna put this beautiful zucchini flower, which we have a big, gigantic garden of zucchini right now. So I'm going to add the zucchini flower to our dish somewhere. Avocado. It is just about to be avocado season. I'm so stoked because you can't get avocados every time of the year, only during avocado season. And they're different. They're not the Hass avocado, so they're a little bit different. I don't know if you can see, but much more yellow. So let's just add that because, well, why not? I want to make it look cool. All right, get these noodles out here. Get that zucchini noodle in there. Dulse. So this is some more seaweed. I'm just going to add that all around. And so what else? Now I'm just garnishing. Some toasted or just black sesame, actually. So black sesame has more calcium than white sesame. So it's a good idea to use that on a regular basis. Little lime. What else? And sauce, of course. Everybody knows it's all about the sauce. In fact, I would love to gift you all my cookbook. It's all about the sauce. That's just a random thing. It's just on my website. If you go to pachavega.com and you sign up to the newsletter, you get the sauce recipe book. So it's got like 7 different sauces and different kind of globals, like bootables from all around the world and from some of my adventures and travels. Okay, so we're just gonna add the sauce. That's it. And of course, you know, eating the rainbow, we're missing the tomato color. So let's add a bit of that in. Okay. Perfect. And okay, that's it. All right, just in time. Ta-da! I wish I could spoon feed you, but I'm sorry. You have to come to Nicaragua for that. All right, I'm gonna add a little bit more just on top of that sauce. There we go. Boom. That's it, the kimchi noodle bowl. It's pretty much more than the noodles. It's not all about the noodles, it's about all the other stuff and the flavors. So as a chef, as a raw food chef, I really focus on making this food taste good. That is extremely important to me because that's the sustainability piece. People will continue to come back for more and eat like this on a sustainable level if it tastes good. If it doesn't taste good, right? I'm not going to eat it either. I want to taste good, delicious food all the time. Sometimes though, I like to eat plain and boring food as well. That's okay too. So yes, any questions?
That was awesome. Thank you so much, Danielle.
Thank you so much.
I'm just checking the chat now to see if anything else has come in. I don't think so.
Yeah, as far as the ferments, leaving the cap off, yeah, you want to leave it off as it ferments. And then you can put the lid on when it's ready to store. So basically when it's ready to store, it's your preference. In Korea, they can ferment a kimchi for a year. So it's up to you how long you want it to go. Yeah, that's, anything else?
Just lots of compliments. So everyone, please remember to complete the survey about this session afterwards to just reiterate how much you love Danielle.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, send me an email, send me, let me know, drop some messages on Instagram. And also, if you want to learn more, please come and check out some of my online courses. I have an intro course, which is basically an introduction to the raw plant whole foods diet. It includes flavor balancing as a module, knife skills as a module, and then sustainability and ethical choices. And then if you like that, then there's level 1, and that goes forever. Like it's 14 modules, and it covers fermented foods and sprouting and digestion and detoxification and different spices from around the world and whole foods for athletes, and even a whole module on cooked comfort food, cooked plant-based vegan comfort food. So lots of options, raw chocolate, desserts, a chocolate cheesecake, all these kinds of things. So you're welcome to come check it out.
Amazing. I think we're all going to head to your website now. And Christine, put your email in the chat. So if anyone has any more questions that you think of afterwards, don't hesitate to reach out to Danielle. But thank you again, everybody. And I hope to see everyone in our panel that is coming up at 4 o'clock. And that is the impact of nutrition during a pandemic. So don't miss out.
Great. Oh, the almonds, soak them 8 hours at least minimum, and then change out the water. So if you soak them longer than 8 hours, after 8 hours, change the water out. I just saw that question.
Perfect.
Cool. Thank you very much for having me. I feel blessed and honored, and it's just awesome to share my passion because I love it and I love this food so much. And I'm going to eat this kimchi noodle bowl. Actually, I'm going to take a bunch of pictures of it first because it looks amazing. But yes, hopefully we'll see you all at some point someday. You're welcome to come to Wanderlust Utopia in Nicaragua as well. That's another place that we're opening up here very soon. So yeah, I'll type that in here. Wanderlust Utopia. .com. Boom. That should be it. Yeah. So, oh no, that's spelled wrong. Cool. There we go. That's the second one. Yeah. So that's the facility that we have on Ometepe Island, and that's where my courses live when they're live in person. And we also offer all kinds of things like yoga retreats and meditation retreats and just retreats of the health and wellness variety. So yeah, welcome to come check out our place here as well. So thank you very much. I'm really happy to have shared all this with you.
We loved it. Thank you so much, Danielle. And thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye. Have a great day.